Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me now is the man headlining Bellator MMA Fight Series next weekend in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm talking about the NFC featherweight champion, Lawson McClure. Lawson, welcome to Half the Battle.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, man, the pleasure's all mine. So, it seems like Lawson McClure, fight of the night, and fight of the year are always used in the same sentence. How did you develop that fighting style?
I wouldn't say I necessarily developed it. It's kind of the way I've always fought, going back, to when I was, a kid getting in fights, getting beat up in school and stuff. I've just always kind of been a pressure fighter and gone forward. I think just my wrestling training, that's just kind of how my whole attitude has always been, just always moving forward. I have a tattooed on my forearm. It says forward always.
Now, when you're in there, do you consciously think about putting on an exciting show, or is that just simply how Lawson McClure fights?
I got to be honest with you, it's just a byproduct. I'm out there just looking to hurt the other guy. I'm out there fighting. It's just kind of what happens.
So some people love the feeling of winning. Others genuinely enjoy the process of fighting. You seem like the latter. You seem like you really enjoy the fight itself. Is that fair to say?
Yes. It's very fair to say that. I love a good fight. I don't know. It's been that way since I was a kid. A good scrap is just the best thing out there. I get into this zone where I'm so in the moment that everything seems to slow down a little bit. There's nothing else like it unless that cage door locks behind me.
What were some of your experiences growing up? Some of the fights that you got into, man, because not everyone's able to be as in the moment as you are.
Well, I was bullied a lot as a kid. I wasn't a very large child. I was pretty small for most of my youth. I didn't hit 165 until I was like 23, and it's been a long process. I was a late bloomer. During that period though of being small and having to defend myself, I think I just kind of developed the attitude that you're probably going to beat me up, but I'm just not going to quit. And through that, that just kind of grew into who I am now. One of the things I like to say to people is, if you want to do this, if you want to do any kind of combat sport, really, you got to have more F you than F me. Because the second you say F me, it's over. You're done.
That's really interesting to hear you say, man, because, the mental aspect of the game is huge. And you hear a lot of the fighters, especially as they're about to walk out into the cage, some have a lot of self-doubt. But how do you kind of put that on the back burner and, like you said, F you, not F me?
Well, that's a good question, actually. It's tough. Not everybody's able to do it. You either can or you can't in some cases. And to say that you can train yourself to do it, I'm not sure that you can. I've seen some of the most gifted athletes in the gym, not be able to tie together when they hit the cage. Everybody knows a guy like that if they train at a serious gym. You got that one guy who submits everybody, or you can't ever catch him when you're sparring with him on your feet. And, he goes to take his first amateur fight, and, he gets so nervous that he, forgets how to shoot a double leg and ends up getting guillotined in the first round, It's really just, you got to lock everything away. I can't give a crap about anything but my own self-preservation once I'm in there. So if I'm thinking about anything else, if I'm feeling anything else, it's just going to hinder me and it's going to slow me down. I can't even really be afraid or worried about my own physical well-being in a sense. Because, like, I've already, you know, when I sign the dotted line, that goes out the window. You know, you've already pretty much said to yourself, all right, I'm going to sign this paper, and I'm probably going to get a concussion, you know, maybe break something. Who knows? So it's, you know, that's already done. You know, the worst has already happened. And your job is to go out there and just, you know, fight until it's over. Fight from bell to bell. Then that's how I view it. It's, you know, I guess I kind of take a workman stance from it, you know, like once that bell rings, you know, it's on.
Where do you think that mentality comes from, man? Is that something you're born with, or is that something you have to develop along the way? And the reason I ask is because you brought up a perfect example. You know, everyone knows that one guy that's the dojo champion, beats up everyone in the gym, but when it comes time to the actual fight, they crumble under the pressure. And, you know, on the other side, conversely, you know those guys that, you know, they don't spar as hard in the gym, but then once that cage door shuts, they're an absolute animal. So is that something you're born with, or is that something you have to develop?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think you have to have a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, because if you're born with it naturally, you have to nurture it and you have to protect it and you have to form it in the right way. And if you don't have it, you can develop it, or you can at least, let's say, fake it through having a really good game plan. I mean, that's because at some point or another, it's going to turn into a street fight out there. It's going to get ugly, and then what are you going to do? It's no longer a sporting event. It's no longer a nice, clean, you know, mixed martial arts match. It's a street fight. And when push comes to shove, do you have what it takes? You know, when he puts one of those big right hands on you, are you going to crumble? Are you going to give up, or are you going to keep going? And that's, you know, it's a choice. It's part of who you are, but also, like, if you train enough, if you want it bad enough, yeah, you can teach yourself to do it. But, you know, I would have to say that, like, generally speaking, you got to have a little of that innately. You have to be born with it.
Now, you've been through some serious wars, man. I mean, you've had a battle through getting your eyes closed and stuff like that. So when that's going on in the fight, is there ever a thought that crosses your mind like, okay, like, you know, I'm done, I just want to go home? Or is it like, look, man, I'm here to survive and I want to beat this dude up no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, there's never a moment where I want to go home. Until that bell rings, that is my home. That's my house. I live there. And they are fucking invading my territory. Oops, sorry.
Oh, you can cuss. This is an adult show.
All right, good. You know, well, like I said, you know, from bell to bell, that's my fucking house. Get the fuck out of my house. You know, but I love being in there. I love being in the fight. Doesn't matter what shape I'm in. I mean, like I said earlier, the second you say to yourself, fuck me, you're in trouble. That guy's got you. You know? I don't care if you're getting your ass kicked so hard that you can't see. Like, you know, I've had my eyes closed before. It happens. You know? But I never said to myself, you know, oh man, this sucks. Maybe I should just tap. No, I said, fuck you. I don't care if I can't see you. I'm going to keep fighting.
So I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, maybe it really is an innate thing.
I mean, it's not you gotta think of this from a normal person's perspective, though. I mean, any sane person would just be like, okay, if I just tap the mat, I can go home. I don't have to be hurt anymore. Why don't I just tap the mat? That's not what, you know, that's not what really, you know, that's not what fighters do. That's not what champions do. They, you know, they go out there and they try and win no matter what the beating they take. No matter how hard it gets, they keep trying to win. And maybe that's a little psychotic. Maybe it's a little crazy, you know, considering the pain and, you know, the other things that you have to endure while you're out there. Because, I mean, let's face it, a normal person would just say, fuck it, let's go home.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like if you lived in prehistoric times, you would have been a gladiator?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, a big part of me would love to say yes, but then there's a big part of me that says, well, I don't even know if I would have made it through, you know, my youth in prehistoric times or in the Dark Ages. I was fairly reckless at times, and I didn't always use my best judgment.
So, when did you realize you wanted to get into fistfights on Saturday nights inside of a steel cages for a living?
When I realized I had the opportunity to get paid to do it and not get arrested. That's probably immediately when I knew that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I've always been enamored with fighting, of all kinds. Like, when I was a kid, before I, you know, realized that wrestling was completely fake, I was very much your quintessential, like, 80s, 90s kid that just couldn't get enough, you know, pro wrestling. You know, I love Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Bloodsport was like the greatest movie ever. Still is. But yeah, I mean, I've always found martial arts and fighting interesting. I took, you know, more of a Western path in that I was a wrestler. I've been a wrestler since I was a small child, you know, instead of being put in karate or something like that. But I believe that when it all boils down, you know, truly all arts have the same mentality. You know, and if they don't, then you have to kind of question the art itself. But, you know, number one is survive. You know, number one, survive. Number two is win. But, you know, you can't win if you don't survive.
So, you've overcome adversity in fights and in life. You know, you once actually had a 4-fight skid, and the reason I bring it up is because you put your head down, you grinded, and you came back and became a 2-time NFC champion. So, tell the fans about your mindset when it comes to overcoming adversity, because they could really learn a thing or two about your grit and mental fortitude.
Well, you know, it's very cliche, but I mean, quitters never win. If you give up, you've just forfeited any chance you have of coming back victorious, of climbing that hill, you know. And I think it was my high school assistant wrestling coach. And I remember this so clearly because it still sticks out in my mind. My high school assistant wrestling coach, Solomon Fleckman, I was sitting on the steps after a summertime off-season practice, waiting to get picked up at like 8 o'clock at night. And, you know, the high school I went to, I was not a starter. I never started on the first lineup. My team, we were national champions, but I was on the B squad. But I was sitting there afterwards, and he came out of the gym, and he looked at me, and he said, you know, Lawson, showing up is 90% of the battle. And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, I can show up. At the very least, I can at least show up. Because I know if I show up, I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to put out. I'm going to do the best that I can. So if you never show up, you never give yourself that opportunity. So I guess that's kind of my advice for adversity. You know, I mean, fuck adversity. I mean, everything's hard. I mean, if you don't want life to be hard, then I'm not sure what you're going to do about it. You know, I'd say go live in a cave, but I'm pretty sure that's hard too. So, I mean, accept that it's going to be hard. Push through. Just show up. Just show up. As long as you show up and you work all the right things happen. So that's kind of my mentality and my advice.
So they call you the Candy Man. How did you get that nickname?
Well, I did a interview with George Killebrew, and we were talking. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere. And I said I referred to myself as being like the Candy Man, because if you say my name enough times, I'll show up. And after that, a bunch of people around SVG Athens started referring to me as the Candy Man, and it just kind of stuck from there.
So the first fight with Josh, did it go down as expected?
I mean, in that I was able to come out victorious. Yeah, I mean, I really wasn't. I know what I want to do out there, and I never try and rely too much on what my opponent may or may not do. So I was pretty ready for Josh to, come at me in multiple different ways, because he's a very talented fighter. He's very versatile. So, I mean, there was a lot of different ways that he could have came at me, so I'd say that all in all, yeah, it went the way I expected.
How amazing of a moment was it for you, not just getting that win, but putting that belt around your father's waist after you won? Because it was a pretty incredible moment for me sitting in the crowd.
It was one of the best moments of my life. After I lost to Nate, I had actually thought about that moment, how I'd never get to have that moment with my dad. And something inside me really popped and snapped. And I said to myself, when I get back there, I was like, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to take that belt. I'm going to put it around my dad's waist. I told myself I was going to do it, and I did it. And it was that simple.
Now, I know you were super motivated for that first fight. I mean, your back was up against the wall. You had a point to prove. And, man, you went out there and you did it. But now you got the rematch. And not only are you rematching the guy that you took the belt away from, but you're rematching him in basically your Bellator debut. I mean, the stakes are even higher. I got to imagine that you're more motivated than ever for this one, right?
I'm pretty motivated. And I'm actually kind of angry, too. So yeah. Let's go with motivated.
Now, Lawson, when you say angry, are you angry because of some of the response and criticism that you got for the first fight?
Yeah. Yeah, that. Yeah, just that, and the fact that, yeah, I'm angry about the criticism of the first fight. It definitely riled me up.
You feel like you were disrespected after, a fight of the year type performance?
I wouldn't say that I felt a little disrespected. I definitely did. And I've never, I'm not going to show Josh any disrespect. I think he's a great competitor. He's a very tough guy, but I won that fight.
So deep in your heart, there's no controversy. I mean, you feel as if you are the champ. I mean, you're holding that belt.
Yeah, that's my fucking belt. I won it. I won that fight. I don't think there was a moment in that fight where he controlled a second of it. So, not really sure where any claims to having actually been robbed or anything like that, would come from. But, yeah, there's no question in my mind or in my heart. I won that fight, and I'm going to win again.
So, I mean, now you guys have the rematch, and you guys both have full 15 minutes of experience against each other. Without giving away any details, man, how do you see this rematch going down?
Very much like the last time, but I'm definitely going to try and really put it on Josh this time and really, really try and, hurt him and land some really mean strikes.
So, Lawson, after everything you've been through in your career, man, is it cool to not only get to defend your belt, but get to headline a Bellator show after all the ups and downs in your career?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've been a Georgia fighter since my first bout. My first bout was in the Athens arena. And I'm so excited that, I get to have my Bellator debut in Atlanta, in, what I consider my house, my hometown. That is my home. I own Atlanta. Athens is mine, so is Atlanta. They're both mine. And the fact that I get to have my Bellator debut in Atlanta with all my friends watching for free, I mean, it doesn't get any better. Like, that doesn't create pressure for me, because I know that no matter what happens, at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and fist fight.
Yes, sir, and we're all looking forward to it. Well, Lawson, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Let the fans know where they can follow you on social media, and any message for them, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at under Lawson McClure. Go ahead and try and friend me up. I'm always posting stuff about my micro monkeys and my work with rescue dogs. So, yeah, shoot me a message.